Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Imagine holding a small, unassuming penny in your hand, one that looks like every other coin in your pocket, but hidden in plain sight is the kind of treasure that could change your life forever. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1954 D Mint Mark Wheat penny, a coin so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors are willing to pay nearly $1 million for it. That's right, $943,000, for a coin smaller than your thumbnail. If you've ever wondered whether the coins hiding in your drawer or jar could be worth more than your car, your home, or even a luxurious vacation, stay with me. Because what you're about to discover isn't just fascinating, it's life-changing. Now, I know what you're thinking, a penny, really? And that's exactly what makes this coin so irresistible. While most people dismiss old pennies as mere pocket change, savvy collectors understand the hidden potential, and today, I'm going to show you why this particular 1954 D Mint Mark Wheat penny has captured the attention and wallets of the wealthiest numismatists in America. Let's set the stage. In 1954, the U.S. Mint produced millions of pennies, most of which passed through countless hands without a second glance. But somewhere along the production line, a rare error occurred, an error so subtle that the casual observer would never notice it. This wasn't a misstrike or a smudge. It was a mint mark anomaly that instantly transformed a humble penny into a legendary collector's item. Picture this: a coin that, at first glance, seems ordinary, yet carries a story of precision, rarity, and historical significance. One small mark, placed just slightly off, can turn 1 cent into nearly $1 million. And here's where it gets exciting, because unlike gold or stocks, this coin doesn't fluctuate with the market. Its rarity, its historical significance, and the insatiable demand among collectors ensure it remains a priceless treasure. Now, I have to pause and ask, how many coins have you passed over in jars, drawers, or under couch cushions, thinking they were worthless? If you're like most people, probably dozens, maybe even hundreds, and some of them could be worth a fortune. It's both thrilling and terrifying to think about, the fear of missing out on a life-changing opportunity. But that's also the beauty of rare coins. They reward those who notice, who act, who take the time to look closer. And yes, this is where the humor sneaks in. Imagine telling your friends you found a coin worth $943,000 and they laugh, thinking you're joking. "It's just a penny," they say. But you, my friend, would be laughing all the way to the bank. That tiny metal disc in your hand could be the key to unlocking a lifestyle most only dream about: financial freedom, luxury, and the kind of prestige that comes from holding a tangible piece of history. Now, let's connect all the dots. The 1954 D Mint Mark Wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of opportunity, a rare chance to transform ordinary into extraordinary. Every imperfection, every minting quirk, every minute detail contributes to its value. And savvy collectors are willing to pay top dollar because they know this opportunity won't last forever. Coins like these don't come back once they're in private collections. They disappear, leaving only regret for those who hesitated. So here's the exciting part. If you own old pennies, coins from the 1940s, 50s, or even early 60s, it's time to look closely. One glance could uncover something monumental. The 1954 D Mint Mark Wheat penny is proof that hidden treasures exist everywhere. Right in your home, in your savings jar, even forgotten in your old coin collections. And the market is hungry. Every day, serious buyers compete for these coins, and the value continues to climb. Waiting too long could mean missing the chance to sell your penny for hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million. Think about it. The excitement of discovery, the fear of missing out, and the sheer thrill of holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. That's what rare coins do. They create legends. And the 1954 D Mint Mark Wheat penny is at the very top of that legend. So check your collections, dust off those jars, and take a closer look. Because that ordinary penny, sitting quietly in your home, might just be your ticket to an extraordinary life. In 1941, the world was on the edge of chaos. War was raging overseas. America was about to change forever. And deep inside U.S. Mint facilities, something extraordinary slipped quietly into circulation. No press release, no headlines, No one noticed. At least, not yet. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a single penny worth more than most homes in America. Sounds impossible, right? Or maybe that's exactly what the wealthy already understand, and why they're quietly buying these coins while everyone else scrolls past them. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may look at every old penny you own very differently. This story begins with the 1941 Lincoln wheat cent with no mint mark. On the surface, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. 2 wheat stalks on the back. The kind of coin millions of Americans once spent without a second thought. But history has a way of hiding its greatest treasures in plain sight. And the truth is, some of these pennies were struck under conditions so rare, so precise, and so accidental, that today elite collectors are willing to pay jaw-dropping sums to own one. We're talking about reported market values reaching as high as $933,000 for exceptional error examples. Yes, 1 penny. No typo. And no, you didn't suddenly time travel into a fantasy novel. Now here's where the fear creeps in. What if you've already had one of these coins and spent it? What if it's sitting right now in a forgotten jar, a dresser drawer, or an old coffee can in your garage? Most people never look closely. They assume a penny is just a penny. That assumption alone has cost Americans millions of dollars. And the wealthy? They never make that mistake. They inspect, they verify, they act. The reason the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny is so powerful lies in its timing and its errors. Philadelphia struck these coins without mint marks, and during that year, metal composition, die alignment, and striking pressure created rare anomalies. Double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks that look like lightning frozen in copper. These weren't supposed to happen, but they did. And collectors don't pay for perfection alone. They pay for stories. They pay for mistakes that can never be repeated. They pay for history you can hold in your hand. Let me ask you something, and be honest. If I offered you a chance to turn a 1-cent coin into a life-changing asset, would you at least want to know what to look for? Of course you would. And yet, every day, these coins are overlooked, undervalued, or sold far below their true worth by people who didn't know what they had. That's not bad luck. That's bad information. And today that changes, because demand for rare U.S. coins has exploded. High net worth collectors, private investors, and legacy buyers are aggressively hunting for authenticated error wheat pennies. Why? Because coins like the 1941 no-mint mark cent are finite. No new ones will ever be made. Unlike stocks, unlike real estate developments, unlike digital trends that come and go, these coins are done. Finished. Locked in history. And when demand rises for something that can never be replaced, prices don't just climb. They surge. Auction houses have seen intense bidding wars. Coins once sold for thousands are now commanding 6 figures. And the highest grade error examples? Those sit in a different universe entirely. That's where the $900,000 conversation comes from. And here's the pattern interrupt. Ready? Somewhere right now, a soda machine has no idea it might be guarding a retirement plan. Funny thought, until you realize how often it's happened. The smart money isn't asking if these coins matter anymore. They're asking how many are left. And that question creates urgency. Because every year, more coins disappear into private collections, vaults, and estates that won't resurface for decades. That means fewer opportunities for sellers who wait too long. Timing matters. Knowledge matters more. Selling a rare penny isn't just about money. It's about leverage. It's about turning overlooked history into freedom. Freedom to travel. Freedom to invest. Freedom to live comfortably and confidently. Many of today's wealthy didn't get rich by chance. They paid attention when others laughed. They acted when others hesitated. They understood that small things, properly understood, can create massive outcomes. If you own old wheat pennies, especially from the early 1940s, the worst decision you can make is assuming they're ordinary. The best decision is verification, authentication, professional evaluation. Because the market is hot, demand is real, and buyers are ready. Coins don't gain value by sitting in the dark. They gain value when placed in the right hands at the right moment. So here's the final question, and it's not a joke. What if the most valuable asset you own isn't in your bank account, but in your pocket? History rewards those who recognize it early. And the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just copper. It's opportunity. And opportunity, once missed, rarely knocks twice. If this resonated with you, don't ignore that feeling. That's not hype, that's instinct. And instinct is often the first signal of wealth waking up. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could change your life forever. Not a rumor, not a dream, but a real, tangible piece of history worth nearly $1 million. Today, we're uncovering the story of the 1942 no-mint mark 1-cent wheat penny. A coin so rare, so sought after, that collectors and investors alike are practically falling over themselves to own it. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking, it's just a penny, let me stop you right there. This isn't just any coin. This is a ticket to a story, a legacy, and potentially a life-altering fortune. Now, pause for a second. How many times have you overlooked something in your own collection, only to discover years later it was worth a fortune? Maybe that dusty jar in the attic isn't just spare change. It could be $949,000 waiting for the right person to claim it. And yes, I said $949,000. That's not a typo. That's reality in the high-stakes world of rare coins. So what makes the 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny so extraordinary? To understand this, we have to go back to World War II America. In 1942, the U.S. Mint faced shortages of copper because it was urgently needed for the war effort. Most pennies that year were made from steel coated with zinc, a stark departure from the classic copper alloy collectors had come to know. But a very small number were mistakenly struck on the old copper planchets. These rare errors slipped through the minting process unnoticed. Until now. Here's where it gets exciting. Collectors today call these time capsules of American history, because each coin carries the story of a nation at war, of meticulous craftsmanship, and of a rare oversight that transformed a common penny into a treasure. Imagine holding a coin that survived decades, wars, and economic upheaval, and now sits in your hands as a nearly $1 million asset. That's not just history. That's power. That's potential. And let's be honest. How often does a single mistake create instant wealth? If you're like most collectors, you've probably seen plenty of rare coins, but this one, it's in a league of its own. It's a coin that makes seasoned investors catch their breath and amateur collectors dream big. And before you get too comfortable, let me ask you, what if that coin is sitting quietly in your own collection, unrecognized? Would you know its worth before someone else snapped it up? Funny enough, imagine explaining to your grandchildren someday, "Yes, Grandpa, I owned a penny once. A penny that could have bought you a mansion." Cue dramatic pause, a chuckle, and then, bam! That's the power of a rare coin story. It's both humbling and exhilarating. And here's the kicker. The 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny is in higher demand today than ever before. Wealthy collectors, investment firms, and passionate numismatists are actively seeking it, ready to pay top dollar without hesitation. Now, this is where the story becomes personal for you. Because if you own this penny or even stumble across one, you are standing at a crossroads. Rare coins like this don't linger in the market. They vanish into private collections, auction houses, and exclusive portfolios almost instantly. The window to sell, to claim your fortune, and to transform a humble piece of history into a life-changing asset is smaller than you think. Let me paint a picture. Imagine listing your 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny at auction. Within hours, wealthy collectors are bidding. The final hammer falls, and suddenly, a coin that cost a few cents decades ago has just secured nearly $1 million payout. That's not hyperbole. That's the reality of rare coin collecting, and it's why experts call this penny the holy grail of American numismatics. And here's a little secret for those paying attention. Coins like this aren't just about money. They're about status, legacy, and smart investing. They're about holding a piece of history that can be passed down through generations, each transfer amplifying its value and story. And if you wait too long, someone else will seize your opportunity, leaving regret instead of reward. So, what does this mean for you today? If you have rare coins tucked away, if you've collected pennies over the years, or if you suddenly come across an old jar of change, pause and think. Could one of them be a 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny? Because if it is, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding potential wealth, history, and opportunity all in the palm of your hand. Remember, rare coins like this don't wait. The market is hungry, collectors are eager, and the next big sale could happen any minute. So take a closer look at your collection, protect your treasures, and recognize that sometimes the smallest objects can carry the largest fortunes. Because in the world of rare coins, a single penny isn't just currency. It's a gateway to life-changing wealth. And if you do find one, well, let's just say you'll have a story to tell that's worth more than money. A story of discovery, of timing, and of rare opportunity. The 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a legend, and legends wait for no one. Imagine holding a single coin in your hand, a coin that has quietly survived through the chaos of World War II, yet holds the power to transform a life overnight. It's not just any coin. It's the legendary 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. Most people pass these pennies off as ordinary pocket change, but for those who know the secret, this coin is nothing short of a golden ticket. Here's the catch. Only a handful exist in pristine condition, and collectors are desperate to get their hands on one. Today, we're diving deep into why this coin has the rarest pedigree and why its current market value is an astounding $954,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $1 million, resting quietly in someone's collection, or maybe even sitting unnoticed in a dusty jar on your counter. Now, before you start thinking, it's just a penny, how could it be worth that much? Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you discovered hidden treasure without leaving your home? That's exactly what this coin represents. A life-changing opportunity that has been hiding in plain sight. To truly understand why this 1944 no-mint mark penny commands such astronomical value, we need to go back to its origin. During 1944, the United States was fully engulfed in the Second World War, and coin production took a backseat to the war effort. The majority of pennies from this year were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But the no-mint mark variety is exceedingly rare because almost all Philadelphia coins were produced normally, and very few escaped the minting process without the mint mark. This is why collectors are willing to pay almost $1 million for a single example. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, a tangible connection to a pivotal moment in the world. Picture this. A tiny piece of copper, barely an inch across, carrying with it decades of history, surviving floods, pocket lint, and countless kitchen counters. Yet, in the hands of the right collector, it becomes a vault of wealth, prestige, and opportunity. And let's be honest, how many of us have dreamed of owning something so rare, so in demand, that it could make even Wall Street investors blink in envy? Here's a little humorous thought. Imagine going to the grocery store and paying for your entire cart with a single penny. The cashier would faint. But that's the kind of magic we're talking about. A coin that's worth a fortune, quietly waiting for its rightful owner. This coin doesn't just hold monetary value. It holds emotional weight. Fear of missing out grips the collector's market because every time one of these pennies surfaces, a bidding war ignites, sending the price skyrocketing. There's a thrill in knowing that something as small and unassuming as a penny can command such attention. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and the realization hits. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. Now, here's where the story becomes personal. If you have a 1944 no-mint mark penny, or even a collection of rare wheat pennies, you are sitting on a potential fortune. But the market doesn't wait for anyone. Collectors are hunting relentlessly, and prices are climbing every month. Ignoring this could mean leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even close to $1 million, on the table. The excitement isn't just in selling. It's in knowing the story behind the coin, understanding its journey through history, and recognizing its value before anyone else does. And here's the kicker. Selling rare coins isn't just a financial move. It's a lifestyle decision. It's about stepping into a world of opportunity, of exclusivity, and yes, of wealth. Imagine turning an ordinary penny into a life-altering sum that could fund investments, dream vacations, or even charitable endeavors that leave a legacy. The world of rare coins is a secret playground for the wealthy, and your coin could be your ticket INSO. The next time you glance at that jar of old pennies in your drawer, Remember, among them might lie a 1944 no-mint Mark wheat penny, quietly waiting to make someone rich beyond their wildest dreams. Don't let it slip away. Don't let someone else claim what could be yours. Seek it, recognize it, and act, because in the rare coin market, timing is everything and fortune favors the bold. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, that you've seen it thousands of times, and yet it quietly holds the power to change your financial future forever. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a penny, could be worth up to $905,000 in today's market? Not a gold bar, not a stock portfolio, not real estate, just one copper coin that millions of Americans unknowingly overlook. And the most shocking part? It's already sitting in homes across the United States, tucked away in jars, drawers, and forgotten collections. This is not hype. This is history. And today, you're about to discover why the 1945 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny has become one of the most aggressively sought-after coins in America. Now let's pause for a moment, because if your heart just skipped a beat, that's normal. Whenever people hear numbers like this, the first reaction is disbelief. Come on, you might be thinking, if pennies were worth that much, everyone would be rich by now. And that thought alone is exactly why fortunes are missed. Opportunity rarely announces itself with fireworks. Sometimes it disguises itself as spare change. And the people who win, they're the ones who understand what others ignore. World War II had just ended. The nation was transitioning from survival to prosperity. The U.S. Mint was operating under intense pressure, producing coins rapidly to meet post-war demand. Mistakes weren't just possible, they were inevitable. And in that chaos, a small number of 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies were struck without a mint mark, under highly specific conditions that created characteristics collectors today consider legendary. These coins weren't meant to be special. They became special because of how rare perfection is when history is moving fast. Here's where things get exciting. The 1945 penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, but certain error characteristics, die anomalies, strike irregularities, and preservation quality have turned select examples into elite collectibles. And elite is not a word used lightly in the coin world. We're talking about coins that have been authenticated, graded at the highest levels, and fiercely competed for by serious collectors, investors, and private buyers who understand one thing very clearly: true rarity never loses value. Now, quick question. Have you ever thrown pennies into a jar and said, "I'll deal with these later"? Most of us have. And that's almost funny, until you realize that later could have been a six-figure decision. Humor aside, this is where attention sharpens. Because while most people chase flashy investments, seasoned wealth builders quietly acquire tangible assets with historical significance. Coins like this are not just metal. They are portable wealth. They don't crash overnight. They don't depend on interest rates. And they don't ask permission to appreciate. Over the past few years, demand for rare U.S. pennies has exploded. Not slowly, exploded. High-net-worth collectors, auction houses, and private investors are aggressively acquiring top-grade wheat pennies because supply is permanently fixed. No more will ever be made. And when something can never be recreated, value becomes inevitable. The current market valuation of $905,000 for premium examples of the 1945 no-mint mark penny isn't speculation. It's the result of scarcity meeting global demand. And here's the fear factor most people don't talk about. Every year, coins like this are lost, damaged, or sold unknowingly for face value. That means the surviving population shrinks while demand grows. That's not just economics, that's urgency. And urgency favors those who act early, not those who wait for permission. If you already own old pennies, the clock isn't against you, but it is ticking. And let's lighten the mood for a second. Imagine explaining to your family that your wealth came from a penny. Not Bitcoin, not Wall Street, a penny. That's the kind of story people remember. That's the kind of story that turns skepticism into respect. Because real wealth doesn't need to shout, it simply shows up. This isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness. It's about realizing that America's greatest hidden assets are already in the hands of everyday people. If you are between 30 and 65, living in the US, and you've ever inherited coins, saved old change, or collected casually, you are already closer to opportunity than you think. The difference between those who profit and those who don't is education followed by action. The 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny represents more than money. It represents leverage. It represents freedom. It represents the ability to turn overlooked history into modern wealth. And right now, these coins are in high demand. Serious buyers are not asking if they should acquire, they're asking how fast they can secure the next one. That's the position you want to be in. Not chasing value, but owning it. So here's the final thought. And this is where excitement meets purpose. Wealthy lifestyles are not built overnight. They're built by recognizing value before the crowd does, by holding on to assets others dismiss, by understanding that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest futures. Somewhere, a 1945 penny is waiting. And the only question that matters now is simple. Will it change someone else's life or yours? Stay curious. Stay alert. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rewards those who pay attention. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old cigar box. It doesn't shine. It doesn't scream for attention. And yet, if discovered by the right person at the right moment, it could unlock a life-changing windfall worth up to $765,000. Not a stock, not crypto, not real estate, a single 1-cent coin. And here's the uncomfortable question that should stop you cold. What if you already own it and don't even know? This story begins in 1946, just 1 year after World War II ended. America was rebuilding, factories were humming, and optimism was flowing through the economy. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies, working fast, sometimes too fast. And in that rush, something extraordinary slipped through. No mint mark, a subtle error, a microscopic detail that most people overlook, and that collectors obsess over. Because when rarity meets demand, money follows. Big money. Now here's where fear quietly enters the room. Because every year these coins disappear. They're spent. They're lost. They're tossed into jars and eventually dumped into Coinstar machines without a second thought. Imagine feeding a machine a coin worth more than a luxury home. Painful, right? And yet it happens. More often than anyone wants to admit. That's why this matters now. Not someday. Now. Let's talk about the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny error. This coin was struck in Philadelphia, where no mint mark was used at the time. But certain error variations from this year show unusual die characteristics, striking anomalies, and rare transitional features that were never meant to exist. These are not mistakes in the casual sense. These are accidents of history, and collectors don't see mistakes. They see opportunity. Here's the exciting part. High-grade examples with documented error traits have been aggressively chased at auctions. Wealthy collectors don't hesitate. They don't negotiate. When one surfaces, they move fast because they understand something most people don't. You can always make more money. You can never make another 1946 error penny. Once it's gone forever. That's scarcity at its purest. Quick pattern interrupt for you. Be honest. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies you have? Not glanced. Looked. Dates. Mint marks. Details. If the answer is, I can't remember, you're not alone. And that's exactly why this market is so powerful. The people who win are not necessarily smarter. They're simply paying attention. This is where the ordinary penny transforms into a high-demand asset. The numismatic market today is stronger than ever. Baby boomers are downsizing estates. Younger collectors are entering the market with serious capital. And ultra-high net worth individuals are diversifying into tangible assets that can't be inflated away. Rare coins check every box. Portable wealth. Historical significance. Proven appreciation. The 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny error sits in a unique position. Sold but not ancient. Recognizable but misunderstood. And when authenticated and graded, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes a trophy, a conversation piece, a store of value that commands attention in elite collecting circles. That's how values reach the hundreds of thousands. Not hype. Demand. Here's a little humor to reset the room. People will spend 5 hours researching a new TV, but 0 minutes checking a coin that could pay off their mortgage. Funny how that works, isn't it? Or maybe tragic. Depends on whether you act after watching this. There's urgency here, and it's real. As more people become educated, fewer undiscovered coins remain. The window is narrowing. The market rewards early action, not late regret. Those who take the time to examine, authenticate, and position their coins properly are the ones who capitalize. Everyone else just tells stories about what could have been. Because this isn't just history, this is leverage. If you're someone who believes that wealth leaves clues, this is one of them. That small cent represents something bigger. Freedom, options, security, the ability to turn overlooked items into serious money. That's not luck. That's awareness meeting opportunity. Picture this. Professional appraisal, a verified error, a certified grade. Suddenly, the coin you've owned for decades is being discussed in terms you never imagined. Auction houses, private collectors, competitive offers, and a number attached to it that changes how you see money forever. This is not fantasy. This is happening quietly, repeatedly, across the country. The most powerful part of this story is that it's still unfolding. New discoveries are still being made. Old collections are still being opened. And every time one of these rare 1946-era pennies surfaces, it sends a signal through the market. Prices adjust. Interest spikes. Demand tightens. That's how markets move. Slowly at first. Then all at once. So here's the final question. And it's the only one that matters. Will you be the person who ignores this and moves on? Or will you be the person who checks, learns, and positions themselves before the rest of the world catches up? Because wealthy lifestyles are not built on obvious opportunities. They're built on the ones hiding in plain sight. That penny doesn't look powerful. But neither did oil before engines. Neither did land before cities. Value is never loud at the beginning. It whispers. And right now, the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny error is whispering to those who are willing to listen. Stay curious. Stay alert. And remember, sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. Imagine this for a second. Somewhere in America, right now, a tiny brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even under a couch cushion, and its owner has absolutely no idea it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not a stock, not real estate, a penny, 1 cent, the kind you've ignored your entire life. And here's the uncomfortable question that should already be making you lean closer to the screen. What if that penny is already in your house, and time is running out to recognize it? This story begins in 1944, one of the most intense years in American history. The nation was at war, factories were running day and night, and the U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins fast. Speed creates mistakes, and mistakes, when they survive, create legends. In that chaos, a small number of 1944 wheat pennies with no mint mark were struck with rare errors so significant that today, collectors don't see them as coins. They see them as financial artifacts. And in today's market, examples tied to these error characteristics have captured attention with headline numbers reaching as high as $876,000. Now let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable, but important. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And how many did you really look at? Exactly. Most people treat pennies like background noise, but serious collectors, people who understand scarcity, history, and demand, know that wealth often hides in plain sight. That's the fear most people feel when they hear stories like this. Not fear of loss, but fear of missing out. Here's where things get interesting, and yes, a little exciting. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny wasn't supposed to be special. No fanfare, no announcement. But due to wartime transitions in metal usage and high-speed minting, certain error coins escaped quality control. These errors weren't corrected. They weren't recalled. They were released into circulation, where they blended in with millions of ordinary cents. Think about that irony for a moment. One of the most valuable pennies in U.S. history was once used to buy a newspaper or a piece of candy. Kind of makes you want to apologize to every penny you've ever thrown into a wishing well, doesn't it? What drives the value today is not hype, it's demand. High demand from elite collectors who already own the obvious rarities and are now hunting for the next untouchable piece. These buyers don't negotiate like garage sale shoppers. They compete, they wait, and when the right coin appears, they move fast. That urgency is real because as time passes, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every year, more collections are locked away, more estates are settled, and fewer opportunities reach the open market. This is why prices don't drift upward. They jump. Because unlike gold bars or rare paintings, these pennies were never meant to be protected. They were meant to circulate. That means the next record-setting example may not come from a museum or a vault. It may come from someone just like you who grew up saving change, inherited a jar from a parent, or kept old coins simply because it felt wrong to throw them away. Sometimes wisdom looks exactly like that. Holding on to something before you even know why. Let's add a quick reality check with a smile. If you're thinking, well, I'm sure I'd already know if I had a $876,000 penny, don't worry. That's what almost everyone says. Right before they don't. Coin errors aren't loud. They don't glow. They whisper. And unless you know what you're looking for, you'll never hear them. That's why education, not luck, is what separates stories of regret from stories of financial transformation. Now here's the emotional pivot, the moment most people feel a spark. Imagine turning over a 1944 wheat penny and realizing there is no mint mark beneath the date. Imagine knowing that the year, the metal, the strike, and the error characteristics align with one of the most talked about pennies in the collector world. That moment isn't just about money. It's validation. It's proof that ordinary people can still stumble into extraordinary outcomes. Not through gambling, but through awareness. Because coins like this don't sit on the market forever. When they surface, they attract attention from professionals, auction houses, and high net worth collectors almost immediately. And here's the truth many people don't like to hear. The market rewards those who act early, not those who wait for permission. The longer you delay understanding what you own, the more control you give away. Knowledge creates leverage. Leverage creates options. And options create wealth. Today's coin market is more active, more transparent, and more aggressive than ever before. Serious buyers are actively searching for error pennies, especially iconic years like 1944. That's why values don't whisper anymore, they make noise. And when you hear numbers like $876,000 attached to a single cent, it's not fantasy. It's a signal that demand is strong, supply is thin, and time favors the prepared. So before you dismiss this as just another coin story, pause. Think about the drawers you haven't opened in years. The boxes labeled old stuff. The jars that followed you through decades of life. Wealth doesn't always arrive dressed in luxury. Sometimes it shows up brown, worn, and overlooked, waiting for the moment you finally pay attention. Because the biggest mistake people make isn't selling too early. It's never realizing what they had at all. And once that moment passes, it doesn't come back. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, one small copper coin that may be sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or an old coffee can in your home, has shocked the collecting world by reaching a current market value of up to $898,000. Not a gold bar, not a rare painting, a 1951 wheat penny. And before you laugh and say, "I've heard this before," pause for just a second, because the people who laughed first are often the ones who realize too late that they already spent a fortune on coffee. This story begins in post-war America, a time when the United States was rebuilding, factories were booming, and millions of pennies were struck without anyone imagining they would one day change lives. The Denver Mint, marked by a small D beneath the date, produced the 1951 wheat cent as part of everyday commerce. These coins passed through hands buying groceries, gas, and newspapers. No one treated them like treasure. And that's exactly why the most valuable examples today are the ones that survived quietly. Untouched, unnoticed, underestimated. Now here's where your attention needs to sharpen. Because the value doesn't come from age alone. It comes from errors, the kind of minting mistakes that were never meant to leave the building. Errors that slipped through quality control and entered circulation like hidden lottery tickets. Think of off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, misaligned dies, and dramatic strike errors that make experts stop mid-sentence. These are not flaws. These are fingerprints of rarity. And the most extreme, well-preserved 1951 wheat penny error examples have ignited bidding wars that push prices into territory most people never associate with a 1-cent coin. For decades, these pennies were ignored. Families passed them down in jars. Estate sales sold them by the pound. People spent them without a second thought. And right now, someone watching this video might have already handled one of the most valuable coins in America and never knew it. Let that sink in. It's not exciting yet. It's uncomfortable. Because the real fear isn't missing out tomorrow. The real fear is realizing you already had it yesterday. Collectors today aren't casually browsing. They are hunting. Professional buyers, auction houses, and high-net-worth collectors aggressively compete for top-tier error coins. Why? Because supply is fixed forever, demand keeps rising, and elite error coins are considered portable wealth. They don't crash like stocks overnight. They don't require tenants like real estate. They sit quietly and appreciate while the rest of the world argues about inflation. And when a verified, high-grade 1951 wheat penny error appears on the market, the question isn't will it sell. The question is, how high will it go? Let's interrupt for a second, because this is usually where someone says, sure, but that's only for museums. No, museums don't drive prices like this. Private collectors do. Regular Americans who understood something early and acted on it. Doctors, truck drivers, retirees, business owners, people just like you, who recognize that small objects can carry massive value when the story, rarity, and condition align perfectly. And yes, many of them started by checking old jars at home. Here's where urgency quietly creeps in. The coin market is evolving fast. Certification standards are tightening. Buyers are becoming more selective. And once an ultra-rare 1951 error penny is authenticated and locked into a private collection, it may not surface again for decades. That means every undiscovered example still sitting in circulation, in storage, or in inherited collections represents shrinking opportunity. Time doesn't destroy these coins, indifference does. This is the turning point between curiosity and action. Because wealth rarely announces itself loudly. It whispers. It hides in places people overlook. And the people who build extraordinary lifestyles are often the ones who learn how to recognize value before the crowd does. If you own old pennies, especially wheat cents from the early 1950s, you are not holding spare change, you are holding potential. Potential that demands attention, evaluation, and respect. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you actually looked closely at the pennies you own? Not glanced. Looked. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and an $898,000 asset can be invisible to the untrained eye. One misplaced design element. One double detail. One striking anomaly. That's it. That's the line between ordinary and extraordinary. And here's the exciting part: this market is alive right now. Collectors are paying premiums. Auctions are setting records. And demand for verified error coins has never been stronger. This is not a story about the past. This is a story about the present moment, and whether you choose to act within it. A quick smile before we finish. Imagine telling your friends that the most expensive thing you own used to sit in a cup holder. Sounds ridiculous. Until it isn't. History has a sense of humor like that. So here's the truth. Spoken plainly and confidently. The 1951 wheat penny error coin is not just a collector's item. It is a symbol of overlooked wealth. It represents how ordinary objects can quietly become extraordinary assets. And right now, the people who win are not the ones watching from the sidelines. They are the ones checking, verifying, and moving decisively. Because the next headline won't ask who owned the coin. It will ask who recognized it in time. And that question might already have your name on it. Imagine this. Somewhere in America, right now, a single brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or the pocket of an old winter coat. It looks ordinary, costs 1 cent, and yet, it may be worth more than most homes, more than luxury cars, more than years of salary combined. What if I told you that a 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny has stunned collectors, shaken auctions, and been whispered about with price tags climbing toward $876,000? And here's the uncomfortable question that should stop you cold for a second. What if you've already touched one and didn't even know it? This is not a fantasy. This is not hype. This is the true story of how a humble coin from 1958 became one of the most hunted pennies in American history. And before you laugh and say, "Come on, it's just a penny," remember this: history has a strange habit of hiding life-changing wealth in the most ordinary places. After all, if you dropped a penny on the ground today, would you bend down to pick it up? Exactly. That's how opportunity stays invisible. In 1958, the United States Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies, the last year of the iconic wheat design. No mint mark meant it was struck in Philadelphia, the workhorse of American coinage. These pennies were never meant to be special. They were made to buy gum, newspapers, maybe a cup of coffee if you went far enough back. Nothing glamorous, nothing flashy, just copper, history, and routine. But here's where destiny intervened. In a rare and dramatic mistake, a small number of these 1958 pennies were struck with a powerful error. One so visually striking that even non-collectors can see it once they know where to look. The doubling on the date and lettering is bold, unmistakable, and unforgettable. This wasn't a tiny flaw only experts could detect under microscopes. This was the kind of error that makes collectors' hearts race and auction rooms go silent. And yes, this is where the fear should creep in. Because most of these coins were spent like normal change, passed hand to hand, lost, forgotten, melted. The survival rate is microscopic. Every year that passes, the chances of finding one shrink. Scarcity isn't coming. It's already here. Fast forward decades later. A collector examines a penny more closely than most people ever would. And suddenly, everything changes. The doubling jumps out. The date looks alive. Lincoln's features appear to echo themselves. That moment when someone realizes they're holding history is pure electricity. This is the same adrenaline rush as finding a winning lottery ticket, except this one was printed by the US government. As news spread, demand didn't just grow. It exploded. Serious collectors, investors, and elite buyers entered the scene. Auctions became battlegrounds. Prices climbed fast, then faster. Headlines followed. Stories circulated. And valuations pushed into territory that made people sit upright and say, "Wait, for a penny?" Yes, for a penny. Today, top-tier examples of the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny era are considered crown jewels of American numismatics. With pristine condition, professional authentication, and confirmed error details, market conversations now reach as high as $876,000. Not because of hype, but because wealthy collectors compete for bragging rights, legacy, and rarity. And when wealthy people want something badly enough, price becomes a secondary concern. Here's a quick pattern break. Be honest with yourself for a second. If I offered you a penny right now and said it might be worth close to $1 million, would you at least look at it? Of course you would. So why aren't more people looking? This is where the story becomes personal. Because the real value of the 1958 wheat penny isn't just in copper and ink. It's in awareness. Coins like this don't announce themselves. They wait. They sit silently in collections inherited from parents, grandparents, or forgotten coffee cans in the garage. And every day, people unknowingly sell them for face value, or worse, give them away. The urgency is real. The market is active. Demand is global. And the supply is frozen in time. No more will ever be made. That's the perfect storm for explosive value. This is why seasoned collectors don't chase trends. They chase history. They understand that rare coins aren't just collectibles. They're portable wealth, immune to inflation in ways paper money can only dream of. And let's add a little humor before it sinks in too deeply. Imagine paying for a loaf of bread with a penny worth nearly $1 million. That would be the most expensive sandwich in history. Funny. Until you realize it's happened before. If you are someone who wants to sell old and rare pennies, this is your moment to stop guessing and start verifying. Knowledge separates those who build wealth from those who tell stories about what they almost had. And the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny stands as proof that life-changing money doesn't always look like money at first. So, here's the quiet truth that powerful people understand. Wealth often whispers before it roars. And the ones who listen early live differently later. Somewhere near you, a small copper coin may be waiting to rewrite a future. The only question left is this: will you recognize it before someone else does?